The man outside our cabin was wearing a camp staff shirt, but I knew he did not work there. I had met every worker during training. He stood near the trees at 2 a.m, staring through our window. Then he raised one finger to his lips. Behind him, I saw a girl from my group sitting inside a white van. Her hands were tied. This happened during the summer after I finished high school. I needed money, so I took a job at Pine Lake Summer Camp in northern Michigan. The camp was deep in the woods. The nearest town was almost 40 minutes away. There were 12 cabins, a dining hall, a small medical building, and a lake. Around 80 children stayed there each week. I worked as a counselor with my friend Daniel. We were both 18. Our boss was a man named Mr. Keller. He was friendly, but very strict. On our first day, he gave every worker a printed map. He pointed at the north side of the camp. "Do not take the children past this trail," he said. "The ground is unsafe after the storms." There was a red line on the map showing where we had to stop. Nobody asked questions. At first, everything felt normal. We went swimming, played games, made food over fires, and told scary stories at night. Then one of the girls in my group started acting strange. Her name was Emily. She was 13. She kept asking me about a cabin she had seen in the woods. "There is no cabin past the North Trail," I told her. "Yes, there is," she said. "A man took pictures of us from there." I thought she was trying to scare the other children. I was wrong. The next morning, Emily's phone was missing. Phones were not allowed during activities, but most children still kept them inside their bags. Emily said someone had entered our cabin during breakfast. Nothing else was taken. That same day, Daniel found tire marks near the North Trail. They were fresh. We told Mr. Keller. He looked at the marks for a few seconds and then covered them with dirt using his boot. "Probably maintenance," he said. "But there is no road here," Daniel replied. Mr. Keller looked at him. "Focus on your job." That night, Emily showed me something she had hidden inside her shoe. It was a small memory card. She said she had found it near the strange cabin. I used an adapter to open it on my laptop. There were hundreds of photographs. Most showed children at the camp, swimming, changing clothes behind towels, sleeping inside cabins. Some pictures were taken from far away with a strong camera lens. Others were taken from inside the camp buildings. Then we found photographs of passports, medical forms, home addresses, and emergency contact lists. Someone had access to the camp office. At the end of the folder, there was a video. It showed Mr. Keller opening the north gate after midnight. A white van drove inside. Before we could watch more, someone knocked on our cabin door. It was Mr. Keller. I quickly removed the memory card. Mr. Keller asked what we were doing. "Watching a movie," Daniel said. Mr. Keller looked at the closed laptop. Then he looked at Emily. "Your mother called," he told her. "You need to come with me." Emily stood up. I asked why her mother had not called the cabin phone. Mr. Keller smiled. "Because she called the office." Something felt wrong. I told him I would walk Emily there. His smile disappeared. "That will not be needed." Daniel stepped between them. Mr. Keller stared at us for a few seconds, then left. We tried calling the police, but there was no phone signal. The camp's internet had also stopped working. Daniel said he would walk to the main road and find help. I stayed with the children. 20 minutes later, the power went out. Then I heard an engine. Through the window, I saw the white van moving slowly between the cabins. A man wearing a camp shirt walked beside it. I had never seen him before. He stopped outside our window and placed one finger over his lips. Inside the van, Emily was sitting in the back. Her wrists were tied. She was gone from the cabin. I never heard her leave. I woke the other children and told them we were playing a silent night game. I did not want them to panic. We climbed through the rear window and moved toward the lake. I knew there was an old emergency radio inside the boathouse. As we ran, I saw Daniel near the trees. I almost called his name. Then I saw him speaking to the man from the van. Daniel handed him the memory card. My best friend had betrayed us. I pulled the children behind the boathouse. Daniel had replaced the card before leaving. He must have given them a blank one. The real card was still inside my pocket. Inside the boathouse, I found the radio and called for help. A park ranger answered. I gave him our location and said a child had been taken. Then someone kicked the door open. It was Daniel. He grabbed me and whispered, "You need to trust me." He said Mr. Keller had threatened his younger brother, who was also staying at the camp. Daniel had pretended to help them so they would not search us right away. The blank memory card had bought us a few minutes. Then we heard police sirens in the distance. Mr. Keller and the other man tried to escape in the van. They did not know Emily had worked one hand free. When the van slowed near the north gate, she opened the back door and jumped out. The police found her hiding under a fallen tree. Mr. Keller was arrested before reaching the highway. The investigation lasted almost a year. Police searched the hidden cabin past the North Trail. It was filled with cameras, fake camp uniforms, copied keys, and personal records from hundreds of families. But the photographs were only part of the crime. Mr. Keller had been selling information about wealthy families, home addresses, travel dates, alarm details, even notes about which parents were divorced or lived alone. Several homes had been robbed while their children were at camp. The summer camp had been used to choose victims, but the final discovery was even worse. Mr. Keller did not own Pine Lake Camp. He was using a fake name. The real camp director had disappeared 3 months earlier. Police later found his body buried near the hidden cabin. Mr. Keller had taken his identity and continued running the camp. Pine Lake closed forever after that summer. Daniel and I still talk, and the next story proves that sometimes surviving the danger is only the beginning. The police told us to count every camper before the buses left. We counted them 3 times. Every child was there. But 2 hours later, one of the parents called. She said her son had never come home. This happened when I was 19. I worked at a summer camp in Colorado for 8 weeks. The camp sat deep in the mountains. There were over 100 campers every week. Most of them were between 10 and 15 years old. I was responsible for Cabin 8 with another counselor named Rachel. Everything was normal during the first month. The kids hiked, swam, climbed rocks, and played sports. Every Friday, parents arrived to pick them up. The camp always followed the same routine. Cabins were checked, names were called. Every child left with the adult listed on their forms. At least that is what everyone believed. One Friday afternoon, I noticed a black SUV parked outside the main gate. It stayed there for hours. Nobody got out. I mentioned it to the camp director. He looked outside for a second. "They're probably waiting for traffic," he said. I didn't think much about it. I wish I had. The next week, one of the boys in my cabin started acting nervous. His name was Mason. He was 12. He asked strange questions. "What happens if the wrong person picks someone up?" I laughed. "They can't. We check IDs." He didn't smile. "What if someone already knows everything about you?" That night, I asked him what he meant. He looked toward the office. Then he whispered, "I think someone keeps reading my letters." I told Rachel. She thought Mason was just homesick. But the next morning, I found one of his letters in the trash behind the office. It had already been opened. I asked the office manager about it. She said it must have fallen by accident. The explanation didn't make sense. A few days later, another camper said someone had been walking between the cabins after midnight. The security cameras showed nothing. The strange part? There were no cameras covering the staff office. Friday finally came. Parents started arriving. One by one, the campers left. Everything looked normal. At the end of the day, we checked every cabin. Empty. We counted every child. The numbers matched. By dinner, the camp was almost empty. Then the phone rang. A woman was crying. "My son isn't here." It was Mason's mother. She said she had been waiting outside the camp entrance for almost an hour. Nobody had brought Mason to her. The director checked the paperwork. According to the records, Mason had already been picked up. His file even had a signature, but his mother swore it wasn't hers. Police arrived within 30 minutes. The gates were locked. Nobody was allowed to leave. Then an officer found something strange. The security footage from the pickup area had been deleted. Only 20 minutes were missing. Police started interviewing every staff member. When they questioned the office manager, she became nervous. She admitted someone had paid her $8,000 to copy camper files throughout the summer. She thought it was for marketing. She never asked questions. The detectives followed the money. It led to a man using a fake company. Then another officer found tire tracks behind the dining hall. They led to an old service road that wasn't used anymore. Police searched it. About 3 miles away, they found the black SUV. It was empty. Inside were fake license plates, several camp maps, children's information packets, and a phone with dozens of photos taken inside the camp. But Mason was still missing. Almost 12 hours later, a highway patrol officer spotted a pickup truck nearly 100 miles away. A boy was banging on the back window. It was Mason. He had escaped after the driver stopped for gas. Police arrested the man without a chase. The investigation uncovered something nobody expected. He had never planned to take Mason. His real target had left camp early because of a stomach virus. When that happened, he chose another child at random. The fake pickup signature, the deleted camera footage, the copied camper files. Everything had been planned for months. The office manager wasn't the mastermind. She was only the person who unknowingly gave him access. The man was later sentenced to life in prison. The camp closed for an entire year while every safety rule was rewritten. I still think about Mason sometimes. People imagine danger starts when someone jumps over a fence, but that's almost never true. And that's exactly what the next story is about. The sheriff looked at the group photo from the last day of camp. He pointed at the man standing beside me. "Who is that?" I told him his name was Ryan. The sheriff looked at me again. "There has never been a counselor here named Ryan. This happened when I was 20. I worked at a summer camp in northern Wisconsin. The camp sat beside a large lake surrounded by thick forest. There were about 90 campers every week. We had 15 counselors. At least that's what I thought. On the first day, I met a friendly guy named Ryan. He looked around 25 years old. He wore the same camp shirt as the rest of us. Everyone seemed to know him. He joked with the campers. He helped during meals. He even covered my shift one afternoon. Nothing about him seemed strange. A few days later, I asked another counselor how long Ryan had worked there. She looked confused. "Who's Ryan?" I laughed. "The tall guy with brown hair." She shrugged. "I've never seen him." I thought she was joking. But later that day, I noticed something strange. Ryan was never in any group meetings. He was always around the campers, never around the staff. One afternoon, a camper named Liam came to me. "I can't find my backpack." We searched everywhere. It never turned up. The next day, another camper lost his wallet. Then someone's expensive camera disappeared. The camp director blamed careless campers. But the missing items kept adding up. One evening, Ryan walked beside me. "You know," he said, "people always accuse the wrong person." "What do you mean?" He smiled. "You'll see." That answer stayed in my head. A few nights later, I woke up because I heard footsteps outside my cabin. I looked through the window. Ryan was carrying a large duffel bag toward the maintenance shed. It was nearly 3 in the morning. The next morning, I checked the shed. It was locked. I asked the maintenance worker if Ryan had borrowed it. He frowned. "Who's Ryan?" For the second time, someone had no idea who I was talking about. I decided to look through the staff records. Every counselor had an employee file. Everyone except Ryan. I checked the payroll list. Nothing. No Ryan. No last name that matched him. I finally told the camp director. He thought I was mistaken, until I showed him the group photo from the campfire. Ryan was standing right beside me. The director's face turned white. I've never seen this man. Police arrived that afternoon. They questioned every counselor. Nobody knew Ryan's last name. Nobody remembered hiring him. Nobody could explain why everyone had accepted him as part of the staff. Then one detective made an interesting discovery. Ryan had never entered through the front gate. Security footage showed him walking out of the woods on the very first morning of camp. He simply joined the counselors while everyone was busy unloading buses. Nobody questioned him because everyone assumed someone else had already met him. Police searched the maintenance shed. Inside the attic, they found dozens of stolen backpacks, cameras, phones, wallets, and cash. But that wasn't the worst part. They also found copies of camper information, names, addresses, emergency contacts, parents' work schedules, vacation plans. Someone had carefully photographed hundreds of personal files. The detective believed Ryan planned much bigger crimes after camp ended. Then another twist came. A gas station 40 miles away had captured Ryan on camera. He was not alone. He met another man and handed him a box filled with memory cards and paperwork. Police now believed they were dealing with an organized theft ring. 3 weeks later, detectives arrested Ryan in another state. His real name wasn't Ryan at all. He had spent years sneaking into seasonal jobs, music festivals, sporting events, holiday camps, construction sites, anywhere people expected to see new faces. He never forged an ID. He never filled out an application. He relied on something much simpler: human nature. If enough people assume you belong somewhere, almost nobody questions you. Investigators proved he had stolen information from thousands of people over several years. Several homes had later been burglarized while families were away. Ryan's group had used camp records to learn exactly when parents were traveling to pick up or drop off their children. They knew when houses would be empty. The police called it one of the most unusual infiltration cases they had ever investigated. The camp completely changed its hiring process after that summer. Every employee now wears a photo ID. Every counselor is introduced by name before campers arrive. Sometimes I still look at that old group picture. I can clearly see Ryan smiling beside me,